Good evening and welcome to ITV News. This is Monday night's calendar.
Hello, here are tonight's main stories.
A life's calling to help others. An inquest hears family tributes to a Sheffield foster carer and disagreement over the emergency placement of the 12-year-old boy who ran her over.
Veterans boost. The government puts up £50 million for support services to help those who served on our behalf. But will it go direct to local schemes?
It's absolutely fantastic that the profile of the veterans will be raised. My fear is that the money will go to larger organisations and not to some of the community groups.
Community support, the new food bank in Barnsley where neighbours rely on each other amid rising costs.
And we're now in the new meteorological season, so what does the first full week of June have in store weather-wise? All the detail a little later on.
Thanks for joining us. Well, first tonight, an inquest into the death of a Sheffield foster carer who was run over and killed by a boy her family was looking after. Was told that he'd only been with them 6 days before the tragedy.
Yes, the 12-year-old was jailed for 2 years in 2023 after admitting causing the death of Marcia Grant by dangerous driving. Today, an inquest heard her life's calling was to help those in need.
Well, Adam Fowler has been at Sheffield Coroner's Court. Good evening, Adam. We've heard that one social worker disagreed with the emergency placement because there was another child in the house.
That's right. We heard how there was another boy, child Y, living with the Grants at the time who had complex needs. David Wade gave evidence. He was a supervising social worker at the time and said child Y was his priority, and on that basis he disagreed with the decision to move child X into the Grants' care, but the decision was ultimately made by a more senior manager. He said he didn't know the details of child X's self-reported history of gang violence or possession of knives, and if he had, he would have argued more robustly against that decision. Marcia Grant was killed in April 2023 on her own driveway by her own car, which she was trying to prevent being taken by child X. Now, the head of services at the time for Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council's Children in Care Service, he signed off on that decision. He said it was appropriate at the time because they were trying to find some stability for child X, and that if he hadn't done, then he may have ended up in emergency accommodation, such as a hotel or somewhere miles from Rotherham. Child X's social worker, Tessa Goodacre, said he wanted to be a police officer when he grew up and was aware that he had a youth caution for possession of a knife. Now, the purpose of this inquest is to look at Rotherham Council's decision to place child X with the Grants and the support they were given and whether any lessons can be learned. Marcia Grant's daughter, Gemma, read out a pen portrait of her mother, describing her as a soul like no other with an unshakable moral compass. She said she wore the achievements of those she loved as if they were her own, and said caring was not just what she did, it was who she was. The inquest is expected to last for the rest of the week.
Thank you, Adam Fowler, live in Sheffield.
Veterans in our region are set to gain more funding for support services under a new scheme announced by the government.
£50 million has been set aside over 3 years for a project called Operation Valor as part of the Ministry of Defence's spending commitments, which were announced today.
It aims to link up existing support networks and allocate dedicated veterans officers on local councils to help, and many ex-service members say it's long overdue. Nick Smith reports.
For those who've served this country, life outside of that service can often be difficult to navigate. Local veterans projects like this one in Chesterfield reach out to those who may benefit from support services, or just a bit of a friendly chat, welcoming the prospect of more bespoke help for ex-service members.
It's absolutely fantastic that the profile of the veterans will be raised. My fear is that the money will go to larger organisations and not to some of the community groups, the smaller charities, where we are actually doing all the work in the community already.
The Veterans Minister says a huge part of their Valor project is to work with communities to get a better idea of how much support is needed.
So at the local level, you should end up with sponsored hubs that provide wraparound support to veterans as a walk-in centre across the country. We're going to thicken out the headquarters and the OVA to be able to enhance the data collection to work out exactly where our veterans are, what the issues are, and how we can channel our resources more effectively to support them. This will deliver a systemic change if we get it right over the next 3 to 4 years.
Drop-in centres like this could well be a model for these new community hubs, run as a sort of one-stop shop to provide anything from a coffee and a chat to bespoke mental health support.
We didn't really know whether it was for us or not, both being veterans, but we said we'll have a little look and see what it's like. And it was so like a relief that you could go back to people that knew what we'd been through in the military. And
you've got people here that you get to know, and you know the ones who's got real problems. And like I say, I had a lot of stress problems, but people you talk to, it makes you feel better.
We're now exceeding 250 people a month through the door, and that doesn't include the outreach work that we do, the support in hospitals, care homes, cup of tea, helping them with the shopping. So we're reaching quite a broad network. I think there's an opportunity for other counties to learn more about what we're doing and to replicate our service across the country.
More details on the rollout of Operation Valor are expected in the coming weeks, with the armed forces community keen to see the existing patchwork of support become something more uniform for all who've served. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Well, Angela Kitching, the Director of Campaigns for the Royal British Legion, joined us earlier. And I started by asking her how they've reacted to the Valor scheme and its backing for support centres.
We were really pleased to hear that the government are prepared to back veterans and their families through the Valor scheme. We think that there's a real need for regional and local coordination of support for veterans, and so we're hoping that those centres will mean that people know where to turn to get that support.
Why is it that veterans need a bespoke service then?
Sometimes the experiences that people have had in the military can be unusual, and they might need to bring those up and speak about them in an environment where other people understand that experience. But also just practical things like the fact that if you're discharged with some military compensation, the way that that works with the rest of the UK benefits system can be really complex, and you do need some quite bespoke information to be able to understand how all of that operates.
Is it also the case that it's a bit of a postcode lottery as well in terms of what veterans can access in their local area?
Yeah, I mean, nationally, the Royal British Legion provides support to veterans, their families, service people and their families too. So there's that national level of support there. But locally, there is some really great work undertaken by local organisations, and also the NHS and local authorities can provide support. But it really does vary from area to area. And you do need to have somebody on the ground who understands where best to send somebody who comes through the door.
And it's important then for veterans, whatever age, whatever stage of life they're at, that they know this support is there. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, this is a community of people who are often not good at reaching out for help. They're used to relying on themselves. And so often many years can pass before somebody realises that they are going to need that little bit of extra help. And so having somewhere that's, you know, clearly marked for veterans, that they know where to go to seek help, we hope means that more people will reach out.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Angela Kitching. Thanks.
OK, still to come on the programme tonight, pushing boundaries, a record-breaking innings for Yorkshire's Joe Root.
And a cooler breeze today, but some beautiful sunshine in Bridlington. It's going to turn more unsettled for most of us as we head through tonight and first thing tomorrow. All the detail a little later on.
Thank you, Carrie. Now, people living in one of the most deprived parts of South Yorkshire say that volunteers there are having to help their neighbours out of poverty.
Yes, a new food pantry opened today in Thurnscoe to enable residents to buy provisions at a price they can afford.
Barnsley Council has propped the area up with grants, but some people who live there say that the government really should fund long-term changes. Katie Oscroft reports.
Leanne counts every penny, determined to give her children the best she can. She's grateful for this new food pantry and can take away a bag of shopping she could otherwise barely afford.
That'd be quite expensive, that, to go to a normal shop, because that's £3 already. £5 is not a lot, it's out your pocket, really, it's affordable. And it helps benefit older people, children.
Council grants have helped to get this off the ground together with surplus food from supermarkets. It's sold at a price the likes of Stephen can pay.
The bills and things are more important, so you've got to pay all them first and then decide on what kind of food that you do need.
So does it really help having this food pantry?
Yes, it's very grateful.
Sisters Ruth, Julie and Sandra were brought up in Thurnscoe and say they're worried that places like this are vital.
Yes, it's a shame, but it's what is needed, you know, to help the local community. As we said, things are really getting harder.
The government are doing nothing to help us. The bills going up and there's nothing around to help us.
Behind these front doors, almost 70% of households are classed as deprived. Almost half the people who live here are economically inactive. And there's a higher proportion of children who qualify for free school meals than anywhere else in the area. Barnsley Council says those statistics aren't good enough and that money to repair this church hall and the church are just a start.
There's a lot of small businesses, single people who are starting their own businesses, and these will also give people ambition and opportunities to grow and also employ more people.
It's a big job, isn't it?
It's a very, very, very big job.
We get statistics from Church Urban Fund and from the council. You know, we know that there are a lot of people in so many different aspects of need here. It's never ending. We'll never stop because there will always be more that is needed to provide. I mean, there's thousands of people in this village and very little resources.
With this funding, we can now make much needed repairs.
Love where you live is the slogan behind today's ceremonies, and volunteers are doing their bit for Thurnscoe and for people like Leanne. But longer term, the ambition is to bring more prosperity to this corner of South Yorkshire. Katie Oscroft, ITV News, Thurnscoe.
Well, the government told us it's determined to get people out of poverty and tackle the rise in food bank use. It adds it's increased the minimum wage and expanded free breakfast clubs as well.
An inquest has resumed into the death of a Nottinghamshire police officer nearly 2 years ago. Sergeant Graham Saville died after being hit by a train in August 2023. He was trying to save the life of a distressed man on the tracks near Newark Northgate station when he was struck. The inquest is expected to last 2 weeks and will continue tomorrow.
Tributes have been paid to a teenage girl who died after falling into Bating's reservoir near Ripponden. A major search was launched last Wednesday afternoon after reports a girl had fallen from the dam. Underwater search teams spent hours at the scene and a body was found on Thursday afternoon. Police inquiries are ongoing to establish what happened, but police aren't treating it as suspicious.
Teachers at 4 schools run by the same academy trust will begin strike action from tomorrow. Union members from Outwood Grange Academy's trusts at Fox Hills in Scunthorpe and Easingwold are planning a 6-day strike over plans to increase the length of the school day by half an hour, finishing at 3 p.m. instead of 2:30 p.m. Outwood said the small change means students can learn more and achieve stronger outcomes, and they're disappointed that staff have decided to strike.
Well, the ITV Evening News continues after us at 6:30. Here's a look at what's happening with Mary Nightingale.
Coming up, the Prime Minister's plans to make the country safer and stronger. Sir Keir Starmer commits billions to get Britain battle ready, but at what cost? A corporate manslaughter investigation is opened into the failings of maternity units in Nottingham. And tourists left fleeing Mount Etna as Europe's most active volcano erupts. Would you join me for those stories and more at 6:30?
Yes, we will, Mary, thank you. Now, with the rise in the number of people owning electric cars, new research has shown that an unexpected source of pollution from the so-called eco-friendly cars is, well, wait for it, dust from their brake pads.
Yes, new research found that tiny particles could, in some cases, have more harmful effects than diesel exhaust fumes. Chloe Oliver has more.
Electric vehicles have long been marketed as zero-emission alternatives to their gas-guzzling counterparts. But new research has found while electric cars don't emit exhaust fumes, they're not entirely without impact. Those working on the project have been growing cells that replicate the lungs and measuring the effects of exposing diesel particles, as well as different brake particles on the body.
Our study was based on friction brakes, which you find in internal combustion engine cars, so diesel or petrol cars. But it has been known for a long time that when we move from petrol and diesel cars to battery electric cars, that will get rid of all the harmful emissions from the exhaust pipe. But there will still be what we call non-exhaust emissions, which come from the tyres and the road surface, and of course the brakes, although that to an extent depends on the use of regenerative braking in electric cars as well.
While EVs produce no exhaust emissions, their brakes may be releasing harmful pollutants into the air. When a driver applies the brakes, the pads press against the disc, creating friction to slow the vehicle. But this also releases tiny particles into the air. Electric cars are usually heavier than their petrol-powered counterparts, partly due to the size of their batteries, but that means they also require more braking force. There's now over 1.3 million fully electric cars in the UK, making up around 4% of all road users in the country. And despite the recent research, the South Yorkshire Climate Alliance say plug-ins are still far better for the environment.
Electric vehicles are very definitely the way forward. Traditional cars using petrol and diesel have very high tailpipe emissions. Electric vehicles don't have any tailpipe emissions. Both sorts of cars will generate particulate matter using brake pads and tyres, and just general wear and tear on the road. But electric vehicles have much better braking using regenerative braking, and they can go twice as far before the brake pads need changing.
So you don't need to rush to put your EV up for sale just yet. And whatever you drive, manufacturers are working hard to make all vehicles better for our health and environment. Chloe Oliver, ITV News.
OK, time for some sport now, and it's been reported that players and staff at Sheffield Wednesday are still yet to receive their full wage packet for the month of May. Members of staff received letters on Friday to warn them they won't receive all their wages, but will by the end of today. This is the second time in 3 months the club have failed to pay their staff on time. Wednesday could face a 3-window transfer ban by the Football League due to regular late payments. OK, the Leeds Rhinos are up to 3rd in the Super League table after holding on to beat Wakefield Trinity. The Rhinos look to be heading for a comfortable win as they scored 3 first-half tries to lead 22-6 at the break. Wakefield fought back as Max Jowett went over twice to make it a nervy ending, but Leeds held on to win 22 points to 18.
Now, Featherstone Rovers will take on the York Knights in the 1895 Cup final at the weekend. The game will be a repeat of the 2021 final. Rovers came out on top that day. They're out to become the first team to win the competition twice. Meanwhile, York are hoping to break their Wembley duck. The Knights have lost on their 2 previous visits to the National Stadium and are looking to make it a 3rd time lucky.
Yeah, it's going to be a great day down at Wembley. OK, let's stay with rugby and York, but a switch in codes to Union and the build-up to this year's Women's Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, the tournament is being hosted in England in August and September, and among the 8 venues is, well, York Community Stadium.
Yes, and Lisa Adlam is live in York. Plenty of excitement later in the year, Lisa, but there's some special silverware on display tonight. There we can see it as well.
You can see it, Chris, some very special, you might call it silverware. In fact, it's gleaming gold in the gorgeous evening sunshine here at York Rugby Club. This trophy will be up for grabs at the tournament later in the summer, and York will play a key role in the opening games, no less than New Zealand. Their names are on the trophy there. The reigning world champions will be there. But here, they will be hoping that the Red Roses of England can keep this lovely trophy on our shores. They're doing a great job of building the women's sport here at York. As you can see, there's a training session going on. Lots of girls of all ages taking part. They're all really excited for this tonight and for the tournament that's upcoming. You're one of them. How great is it as a rugby player to see the World Cup being held some of the games in York?
Well, it's really exciting. I've always wanted to see like some of the women play, you know, like in front of me, and I've already seen it twice, but like I'd like to see it a third time.
How inspiring is it that this is happening here in your home city?
Well, really inspiring, sorry.
Absolutely. And Gail, you have been playing for slightly longer than Bea. How important is it that girls who are, you know, training here tonight get to see the very top women in their game playing?
Oh, they're just an inspiration. When you see them on the pitch, their athleticism, it's so inspiring for them all.
What does rugby give to young girls and women as a team sport?
Being women in women's rugby, it's just so encompassing. It doesn't matter who you are, what you stand for. Rugby will be there to support you and make you grow, and it brings so much life and excitement and energy.
And how are you feeling about seeing the World Cup played here?
Yeah, really excited. Can't wait. We're off to some of the games. We're going to have some watch parties. Have the teams in the city. It's super exciting having it on the doorstep.
And for those of us who don't know quite so much about the game, any tips, any people to watch?
Just the classics. Ellie Kildon. There's just so many to even consider.
Ellie Kildon, another Yorkshire girl, of course, who began her career in West Yorkshire at Keighley. There's 300,000 tickets that have already been sold for the tournament, which is putting it on course to be the most historic event in the women's sport. Organisers will be hoping that doesn't just mean bumper crowds, but it means a bumper future for generations like Bea and the girls playing here today in women's rugby.
Yep, going to be an exciting summer, isn't it, Lisa? Thank you very much. Live in York for us tonight. Ellie Kildun. There's also Zoe as well, who plays it from Scarborough. Zoe Aldcroft as well. So there's some big names to look out for from our patch.
I think it's so good for young girls who are still at school to see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, to see that and to see the trophy in their midst, what they can potentially get their hands on in the future.
Absolutely.
Never know.
Impressive. As was the weekend's weather and those downpours if you were in them.
No.
Were you under them?
No.
Neither of you got the downpour.
Managed to avoid them. Well, I didn't put my washing out, you see, Kerry.
Oh, I really did put my washing out.
Well, you caused it then, clearly.
I was checking out the radar on my Met Office weather app and I was like, I can get home by 4 and I'll miss that downpour. And I got home at 4:15 in the afternoon and boy, did it come out of the skies. It was a little bit better today, wasn't it? And we did have some sunshine over the weekend. This was Flamborough Head. A big thank you to Scotty, who's from Chesney, who travelled northwards to get this amazing shot. This was in Thorganby in York. The wildflowers, oh my goodness, with the big skies looking absolutely beautiful out there at the moment. A big thank you to Kerry. And this was Whitby first thing this morning. Plenty of sunshine. Now, of course, we said hello to June. We've started a new month. Whitby actually had its warmest May on record in its 68-year history, and May overall for England was the driest in 100 years.
Wow.
So I just feel like I've been throwing stats at you for not just a month, just for like 3 months, because of course we've also said goodbye to spring. Spring was the warmest on record since 1884. It was the sunniest on record since 1910, and we also ended up, I think, the 6th driest for the UK. But this was the gobsmacker for me. Spring 2025 was the sunniest season since 1995, and that's more sunshine than the last 30 summers, the last 30
summers. That is mad, isn't it?
No, it's absolutely crazy, isn't it? So what will the rest of the very first week of June deliver us? Here is your forecast.
A clear start makes way for a day of ancient discoveries. TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather.
Yes, I think we peaked today in terms of the combination of dry, bright and warm conditions. Beautiful in North Yorkshire first thing this morning. A big thank you to Sean Boyle and also to Andy Dennison of this one of Cabbage Hill in West Leeds. Keep them coming, weather photos at itv.com. So yes, turning unsettled by tomorrow morning, this front coming through. Low pressure to the north of the UK, feeding in some fairly breezy conditions for Wednesday, but on Thursday the potential for showers to turn to longer spells of rain at times. So very on and off over the next couple of days. fine for this evening, but as we head deeper into tonight, we are expecting the cloud to thicken and the winds to freshen, and eventually, as we head into the early hours, this area of rain, it's actually several fronts clinging together by the time we reach tomorrow morning, producing some showery outbreaks of rain, some of which will be heavy at times as we head into Tuesday. 4:41 and 9:28 are your sun times. So for rush hour tomorrow, not great, cloudy, wet and windy, but that system does soon push south and eastwards, and so for the rest of the day, it's sunshine and blustery showers. In the sunshine, not too bad, 19 or 20, but some pretty strong and gusty winds with that system early doors and later on in the evening, where gusts could be in excess of 35-40 miles an hour in exposure, and some of the showers, although quite well scattered, could also be on the heavy side. As we head through into Wednesday, it's a mix of sunny spells and scattered showery outbreaks, but it will feel fresher by this point, highs of 16 or 17. That's just about the average, or a degree or two below. The drier conditions will be replaced by thicker cloud and those showers merging to longer spells of rain on Thursday, sunshine and showers for Friday.
TUI sponsors ITV Yorkshire Weather. Making the most of summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
Yes, June's arrived and so has the grass pollen, definitely elevated over the last few days, and over the next few days it's generally moderate but high to southern parts of the region in any sunshine.
Well, Kerry, you've got a big shiny gold trophy behind you.
Look at that.
I bet it's heavy.
Magnificent.
It looks heavy, doesn't it?
It does look heavy.
It even looks like there's a little bit of sunlight shining on it as well.
I was going to say some sunny spells there.
Always looks best when there's sun radiating off a trophy, doesn't it?
Well, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.